Greetings fellow lifeforms and YouTubers. Today's episode's about Battle of the Planets. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamie from Think Geek Theory, and today I'm going to be talking about Battle of the Planets, a cartoon TV show that was on in the, basically the late 70s and early 80s in the Western or North American market. This one is probably one of the smallest things I've got in my collection as well. I've only got 3 figures. For me, and I guess it would be the same for most people out there as well who like collecting toys and figures as well. I don't know about you, but for me sometimes it's nice to find a toy or figures that have been released on a TV show or movie or franchise type of thing, comics, whatever, that you didn't know existed. Now, it's not that you didn't go looking for it or want to find it, but you know, sometimes you just were blissfully aware of it. I mean, most TV shows, even back in the early, way 80s, before then 90s, today even as well, you know, you're going to find some sort of toy line or some toys from it as well. You know, if you're into He-Man, you know there'd be some He-Man toys. If you were into Star Wars, obviously lots of Star Wars toys. If you're into, you know, Thundercats, there'd be certain toys and play sets and things like that. But sometimes it's nice to suddenly discover something that you just didn't know existed. And the bad thing about that is the completionist comes out of me and wants to get every figure and stuff like that, and that can get quite expensive, as most people would know, and my bank account reflects that. But I found these figures a few years ago. They were released in 2002, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. But it was just like, oh my god, I just couldn't believe they existed, and I was like, yes, I had to get them. Now, I haven't got all of the ones I want. The problem is that, yeah, when you do find some toys or figures from a franchise thing that you really like or want to have parts of, then of course it's only available on the secondary market. Now that can be good and bad, but sometimes it's just waiting to find those figures at the right price, and then often a lot of these figures just aren't available down here in Oz in any mainstream stores, and we can only get them through secondary market. So then it's all the postage. So yeah, I've only been able to get 3 and I'm missing about 3 other figures that I definitely want. But it's, you know, trying to weigh up good price, postage, all of the above. So, Battle of the Planets was on TV when I was a kid. It was one of those shows on TV that, well, we used to get cartoons every weekday after school from about, 5 o'clock through to about 7 o'clock. There'd be cartoons or other sort of shows like that as well. So there'd be, from about 5 to 6, it would be things like, an Astro Boy, Battle of the Planets, Star Blazers, those sorts of things. He-Man and all those were the Saturday's cartoons for us here, where I used to grow up as well. And then from 6 you'd get something like a Goodies show, a good UK comedy show back then, and 6:30 was a Doctor Who sort of thing. So what they used to do is they'd have a cartoon on, and they'd have it on Monday to Friday. And then what they would do is do the complete run, and then they'd have another cartoon for that time slot, and then maybe another one. But what they would do is after 2 or 3, then they would recycle it back again, so you would be able to watch it again back then. So yeah, Battle of the Planets was one of those that was regularly on, and I got into quite liking. So I hear some of you ask, what is Battle of the Planets? Well, Battle of the Planets it's really an American adaptation of a Japanese anime series called Science Ninja Team Gatchaman, or more commonly referred to as Gatchaman. I think it was around in 1972 in Japan. And it was bought by Sandy Frank Entertainment, and they did 85 episodes out of the original 105. The reason they did that was it was generally faithful to the plot and character, but what they had to do was to increase its appeal to the North American and Western market. They had to remove some of the violence and profanity and other things that were just not acceptable to the marketed sort of era as well. So cutting out that, they did a couple of interesting things with it. They put in some scenes to join things together, and the one that they did was about a robot, his dog, and a female companion as well. So they had these new scenes to kind of jigsaw it together to at least get the runtime for the TV series. So they created a robot called Seven Zark 7, who was like the early warning robot who monitored everything. He had a dog, robot dog, called Rover 1, and then he had a very alarming, sultry voice woman robot that came through an intercom that would just send Seven Zark 7 into a frenzy, and that was called Susan.
Hello, Zark. This is Susan at the early warning station out on planet Pluto.
That's what I was thinking of. Hi, Susan.
I knew you would want me to fill you in on the latest developments concerning Diane and Oren.
Oh, I certainly do, Susan.
I mean, come on, wouldn't you? So basically Battle of the Planets is about 5 orphans, 5 kids. There were Mark, Jason, Princess, Keop and Tiny, and they were part of this force called G-Force that protected the planet Earth from the planet Spectra and other attacks from space. And the Spectra was run by a villain called Zoltar, and Zoltar would receive his orders and stuff from a disembodied ghost-like floating head sort of thing called the Luminous One. It was never really explained through the cartoons who, what, why, and where this Luminous One actually sat and stuff like that as well. So the original air date for Battle of the Planets in probably its first release was from about 1978 to 1980. And then it was just rotated through. So it was one of those 80s cartoons, as I said, that was on all the time. Now the 5 kids had sort of special powers, and they had a ship, and they went around saving the Earth and everyone from Zoltar and the planet Spectra. So the 3 items I've got that I want to show off today is of 3 of the main figures, Mark, Princess and Keop. Mark was the leader of the group, and he was basically each character had their own vehicle. So Mark had a plane, and what they did is their disguise was an ordinary everyday civilian type of clothes, and so they would have a normal propeller plane. And when he activated his bracelet, or any of them activated their bracelet, their vehicle would turn into a flashier, upgraded version of their vehicle, and then they'd get their wings and their helmets and all that type of thing as well. So the one I got was Mark without the helmet, so I got his plane as when he is in his civilian garb, and he had like a boomerang sort of thing as well that he could fly out, hit people and come back to him as well. So the other version obviously is Mark with his helmet on, and the sleeker version of his plane that he had. And what they used to do is when they used to come together, they had a main ship called the Phoenix, and they would all conjugate, and each of their vehicles parked in a certain spot of that vehicle as well. So the second figure I got is Princess. Princess was the only female of the group. She had a motorbike or cycle, and so the figure I got is her with a helmet on. So her vehicle that came with this, a little mini version of it, is the motorbike turned into a galactic cycle. Pretty quite cool as well. Her weapon of choice was a yo-yo sort of device, which she used to spin around and used to be a bomb as well. So she was kind of the explosives, electronics guru of G-Force as well. The third and last figure that I've got is Keop. Now Keop in the TV series, he had a series of chirps, clips and clicks and chirp, 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 click, click, click. Yeah, which was interesting watching it. The figure I got is again helmeted, so he had a buggy. So he got a little space buggy when he transformed into his uniform, and his weapon of choice was bowlers, so he used to swing them around and take people out and strangle them. But he was more for the recon expert of the group as well, and he was, I think technically storyline, he was actually made in a lab. He was cloned or made from scratch and things. He didn't have natural born and things like that. He was made in a lab basically as well, hence why his speech had chips and quirks and quips in it as well.
G-Force, fearless young orphans protecting Earth's entire galaxy. Always 5, acting as one. Dedicated, inseparable, invincible.
So everyone, that about wraps up my review of my Battle of the Planets G-Force figures that I have in my collection, 3 that I'm missing that I would like. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, hit the like and subscribe and share to other people who may enjoy this as well. And thank you again for watching, and as always, keep thinking geek.